Hello, and welcome to the midweek episode of Views of an Outsider, the Outsider's View from January 13th. Okay, so today's first clip is of the Parliament in Britain who were debating whether to have an inquiry into the grooming gang scandals and the cover-up, the widespread cover-up that has been related to that. And since we touched on that last week, I thought we'd go ahead and have a quick follow-up to that by playing this clip this week.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is being very specific because I have raised this issue. I've raised it in speeches. I've raised it publicly. He knows that as a minister, I would not have been speaking on this specific issue. I was not a Home Office minister, but Mr. Speaker, I will remind him about other victims who came to me, who I did help. The victims of the Tavistock scandal, who came to me as a minister. I didn't send them away like his safeguarding minister. I made sure, as his Labour Party were calling me transphobic, that we launched the CATS review, which even his health secretary has accepted. So we do right by victims, Mr. Speaker. The reason why a national inquiry is important is because this issue is systemic. It has been involving local and national officials, the police, prosecutors, and politicians. He talks about some of the local inquiries, but these interlinked issues cannot be covered by local inquiries alone. In fact, the leaders of the Manchester inquiry resigned because they couldn't get evidence, they couldn't summon witnesses, and not a single person in a position of authority has been held to account. The Prime Minister called for 9 inquiries in the last Parliament. Does he not see that by resisting this one, people will start to worry about a cover-up?
That was the leader of the Conservative Party that you were listening to. And to be completely fair, Keir Starmer was correct in pointing out that the Tories were in charge up until recently, and that they did nothing about this problem when it was their problem. However, then his party proceeded to vote down the inquiry, so that he could apparently do the same thing that he was criticizing the Tories for doing. All I can say is the cover-up continues, and the pressure continues to build. You know, what happens in Britain is none of my business. I'm an American. But from where I'm sitting, even though the British people will decide what to do with their own country, from where I'm sitting, your politicians are playing with fire. Dangerous fire. Ignoring problems, historically speaking, especially problems that tend to involve people's children, is a great way to have the exact thing that you most fear actually happen. You are creating the pressure that is necessary to end up in something very ugly. And I think that is a very stupid decision on the part of Britain's politicians. Now, ultimately, it's up to the British people to figure out what to do about that. But that's my 2 cents, so just telling it like I see it. In other news, not content with pardoning his son Hunter after repeatedly promising not to, and selling off the material for the border wall for pennies on the dollar, and commuting the sentence of all but 3 of the monsters on federal death row, Biden is now also releasing terrorists back out into the world, including the bodyguards of Osama bin Laden. Yeah, I'm sure they're totally reformed. They have every intention of spending the rest of their life volunteering at soup kitchens. Brilliant. This guy is just determined to give Jimmy Carter a run for his money. Wow. But, let's not just cover the negative stuff in life. On a brighter note, Facebook has reversed its censorship policies. Here is a clip of what Mark Zuckerberg had to say about that.
I want to talk about something important today. because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. We're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US.
True.
We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. We're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas.
Yeah.
As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams.
I am more than willing to give him credit for this. Now, I mean, is this a financial decision? Is this just seeing the direction that the majority is headed in and pandering to them? I don't know. I can't read the guy's mind. I can't look into his heart, and I have no interest in trying to. I care about actions, and this is a good action. So it's overdue, but I'm more than willing to give him credit for doing the right thing now. He is correct that the fact checkers are incredibly biased and that they have destroyed more trust than the good that they were intended to do. And I think getting out of California is a necessary step in order to get away from that way of thinking, of censoring other people, and from the more fringe biases that are not accepted by the mainstream. So all of that I think is good, and I applaud Facebook for doing that, even if it is belated. I will reserve full congratulations until I see if the pendulum swings back, if they're going to be a platform that just blows in the wind, and if Democrats come back into power and want the censorship, are they going to instantly revert? So I'll hold off on final judgment, but this is a good thing. Now, the fact checkers in question, the ones that Zuckerberg declared to be biased, fact checked him on whether or not fact checkers are biased. And the fact checkers decided that that was fact checked false. I swear I'm not making that up. That is not a parody. That is not a Babylon Bee headline. That is not a Saturday night skit. The fact checkers approve of their own fact checking. And that is apparently newsworthy. That proves something. I swear, these people are so in their own little world that they don't realize that they are the very best parody of themselves. They come up with stuff that makes it sound like they're being scripted by Saturday Night Live when Saturday Night Live was still good. I mean, nobody could do a better job of mocking them than these people do of themselves. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Your job market just dried up. Nobody likes you. Learn to code. Now, not everyone is happy about the end of the censorship. Joy Reid is very angry. She is so upset about this, and she had to jump on TikTok to let the whole world know that she's deeply concerned. So she did a little video where she was asking people to think about it. Why would someone want to say something that would end up being censored? Since only bad things get censored, the fact that you want an end to censorship automatically means that you must want to say some very bad things. That's the only reason you could be opposed to censorship and for free speech, is you're a terrible person who wants to spread misinformation. And the whole time she was giving this unhinged perspective. She kept tapping the side of her head, gesturing to people to think about it. Think about it. Now, if you're familiar with Joy Reid, you know that's actually just her enjoying the sound of the echo that produces. But once again, no one is better at parroting the left than the left. And then on the news, now this was not on social media, this was on the news, Joy Reid actually suggested, after carrying on about January 6th for 4 endless years, until even the people who were upset about it at the time, like me, were ready to blow their brains out if they had to hear about it one more time. After hearing the women on The View say that January 6th ranked up there with American atrocities like the Holocaust, which was interesting because, like, America didn't commit the Holocaust. Read a book. We actually stopped the Holocaust. And, you know, millions of people were exterminated in the Holocaust. 1/3 of the world's Jews. 1.5 million Jewish children. And a small riot where one person died, and that one person was Ashley Babbitt, one of the rioters, compares to the Holocaust. Wonderful parody of yourself, once again. But to get back to Joy Reid, she says that actually, as horrible as January the 6th was, and as much as she's enjoyed wailing and gnashing her teeth and heaping ashes on her head to commemorate this atrocity for 4 years, she's now actually encouraging the left to do the same thing and to refuse to peacefully transfer power on Inauguration Day. Here's that clip.
14 days from today, you will hear many soberly and reverently laud the peaceful transfer of power. Well, I hate to be the fly at the picnic table, but you can't peacefully transfer power to an insurrectionist simply because it took them an extra 4 years to finish the job. This was a violent transfer of power. The most violent in U.S. history, if we're being honest.
Yes. Americans voting for what they actually want is just the continuation of a violent insurrection. They need to make a pill for this, seriously. Left is always good for a laugh. You gotta love it. I mean, hypocrisy just doesn't even register on their radar at all. In other news, Trump announced his intention to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And my first reaction to that is, boy, these next 4 years are going to be fun. So much material to talk about, people. This is hysterical. I don't know what else to say. My serious take on it is, it's not like this is a priority. I mean, there are more important things to deal with. But it's not like this is an atrocity either, okay? No one owns the Gulf of Mexico. It does not belong to Mexico. It's a gulf that sits between North America and South America. So why should it be attributed to Mexico? Why shouldn't it be attributed to all the countries on both continents as the Gulf of America? I mean, this actually makes more sense. It's not important, but it shouldn't really be a controversial move either. It should just be like, okay, Berlin Wall came down. There is no such thing as East Germany and West Germany anymore. There's just Germany. Geography changes. I mean, unclench. Apparently, some of the people in Mexico are offended by this. And at the risk of irritating our neighbors, a few of them are threatening to rename our southwestern states, which used to belong to Mexico. They're saying if Americans are going to rename the Gulf, then they're going to rename our states. And at the risk of having the entire internet tell me I'm being insensitive, I feel obligated to point out one thing to Mexico that they should take into consideration. The difference between America renaming the Gulf, which doesn't belong to you, and you renaming our states, which also don't belong to you, is that, I hate to point this out, but you lost. Okay, the losers do not get to name things. I know, that's very politically incorrect of me. It's so insensitive. It's also true. That is the outcome of losing. You lose control. Okay, I didn't fight the war. I didn't take it from you. But it's been this way for a while now. And, if it makes you feel bigger and more powerful to rename our states, do what you gotta do, my dude. Okay, use a name that no one else in the world is going to use, and be weird if it makes you feel better, and the rest of the world will go on running in reality, and that'll just be the way it is. If it makes you feel better, do what you gotta do. I don't know. Okay. I'm still going to call it Texas and New Mexico and Nevada and so on and so forth. You can call it what you want to. No one's going to know what you're talking about, but hey, if it makes your complex a little less large, I'm good. Do what you got to do. Trump also talked about taking the Panama Canal back because even though Panama controls the canal, a company from Hong Kong controls the entrance and exit to it, and Hong Kong has been taken over by China. So China is controlling the ports at both ends of the canal. People are saying this is terrible for Trump to talk about taking the Panama Canal back. Now, American tax dollars built the canal. American workers dug it. It is a American creation. And that awful president that we talked about last week, Jimmy Carter, gave it up. And I know technically when you give a gift, there's supposed to be no take-backsies, but yeah, sometimes life ain't fair. If you're going to let China take over the canal that we built, that we paid for, so that we could have free shipping, and you're going to let China take that over, then yeah, I'm going to call take-backsies. And everyone that wants to hyperventilate over that is going to just have to hyperventilate. I don't care, we live in reality, and it's actually better for everyone in the world for the shipping lanes to remain open so that inflation doesn't climb higher. Now, Panama says that this is insulting to them because somehow they say that their ownership of the Panama Canal was a conquest? I'm really going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume there's a translation error there, that we're just missing each other. Because accepting a gift that you did nothing for is hardly a conquest. If that's your idea of a conquest, I really would love to hear your views on Christmas. Because that must be like a massacre day where everybody's being a conquistador of the other people by giving them gifts and accepting those gifts. I don't know. I'm going to assume this is a language thing and pretend it didn't happen. Trump also suggested that we buy or ally ourselves with Greenland. And, I mean, he's been talking about, like, annexing Canada and stuff, so it would be easy to think he's joking about this one, but he kind of seems to be serious about this one. And it's interesting because, I mean, Americans did discover half of Greenland. We also were the ones who had to deal with the Nazis who took over Greenland. We have military bases on Greenland. We basically protect them. The entire population of that huge island would fit into one football stadium. It's about 60,000 people. They are currently owned by Denmark for some reason. It's not really clear why Denmark has a claim on them, but they've been wanting independence for a long time. So if Greenland votes for independence and then makes an application to become a state, become part of the United States, the way I see it, that's their business. They should have the right to do that. If they don't want to be part of Denmark anymore, then okay. So vote for independence and then either stay independent, which would be kind of hard to do for a country that only has 60,000 people. That's not enough people to really build the structure you need to defend yourself and all that. So the idea of them staying completely independent, it would be unlikely if they chose to ally themselves with the United States, making application to become a 51st state. I mean, I don't know. The only hesitancy I have about that is it's going to mess up the flag, people. Like, I mean, where are we going to put a 51st star? Now, what we could do is, like, merge two of our other states. I mean, do we really need two Dakotas? I mean, couldn't, like, North Dakota and South Dakota become Dakota, and then we bring in Greenland, and it stays 50 stars? That would be an option. I mean, does West Virginia still need to be separate from Virginia? I mean, the Civil War was 150 years ago. I mean, aren't we okay by now? It's time. It's time for a reconciliation. Come on, people, sing it with me. Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited 'cause we understood. There's one perfect fit and sugar, this one is it. We both are so excited 'cause we're reunited. Hey, hey. Come on, you know you want to. I'm just saying, it's a possibility. You wouldn't have to mess up the flag for this. And it wouldn't mess up elections either, because with only 60,000 people, I mean, a state of Greenland would get like 1/4 of one electoral vote. So, I don't know. I think we should think about it. I'm just saying, like, be open to the possibilities of change in the world. You know, just be open to things. And now, having angered our neighbors to the south, it is incumbent on me to anger our neighbors to the north. So Trudeau has caved after having his government resign on him, and he has resigned. And I feel like I should react to that after having spoken about it before. So here's my official reaction for the record. Ding dong, the bimbo's dead. Ding dong, the woke bimbo is dead. Yeah, I actually just did that. See ya, Trudeau. He has driven a very nice country into the ground and wrecked life there for his own people. Their dollar is now worth 70 cents compared to the American dollar. 1/3 of their population is receiving emergency payments so that they can pay for the necessities of life. And MAID, which stands for Medical Assistance in Death, in other words, government-sanctioned suicide, is now the 5th leading cause of death in Canada. Great job, Justin. Now, once Trudeau is gone, that doesn't mean that Canada's sucky pool of politicians will transform. There are apparently many Canadian politicians who are deeply offended by Trump's constant joking that he's going to annex Canada. And we'll get to the politicians' response in a moment. But first, I have to comment on one social influencer in Canada who pointed out that Trump is behaving more like an internet troll than a politician. Yeah. Are you just now figuring that out, dude? Newsflash? Trump likes to troll people? Like, okay, if that is just now occurring to you, then I don't know what to expect of your future TikTok videos, except that any moment now you're going to be announcing that there's this new virus emerging in China called COVID, and you're going to try to start riots where people raise their hands into the air and yell, "Hands up, don't shoot." Like, I mean, how far behind are you, my dude? Fix your algorithms. I don't know what to say to that, but okay. Yeah. You live in a special world of your own, don't you, my dude? So anyway, the politicians are saying that they're going to retaliate against Trump by imposing tariffs on the United States, which I guess means like maple syrup is about to become more expensive. I mean, what is it that you produce for us that we can't produce for ourselves? We have Vermont. Okay, Vermont makes maple syrup too. I think we'll be okay. Do what you got to do. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be like that obnoxious American that's like, oh yeah, we're the top dog. And I mean, no, but all I can say is, like, I've got this little Pomeranian. Okay, she weighs all of like 7 pounds, and when she tries to pretend she's Cujo, I can't pretend I'm intimidated by that. I can't. I'm not an actor. It is just the cutest thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And I'm sorry, but it's not just America. Anywhere in the world, like when you say Canada, what word pops into your mind? It's not like that word is intimidating. Yes. Ooh, Canada. An intimidating people. Okay, play to your strengths. You are a nice people. You are a friendly people. You are a good-hearted people. You produce a lot of good actors, a lot of good singers. Don't try to be something you're not, okay? Because it sounds exactly like my 6-pound dog when she tries to growl, because it comes out like she's gargling. And it's the cutest, most adorable thing you've ever seen. And I know you're going to be angry at me for saying it, but like when Canada tries to act tough, it's the cutest, most adorable thing I've ever seen. Elizabeth May, who is apparently a politician up there, said that if Trump doesn't stop threatening to annex Canada, then Canada is going to annex California, Washington State, and Oregon from us. Okay, my first question is, with what? Like, you know, I hate to continue being the American that's like, we're awesome, because we're not perfect. But, like, I mean, who out there is going to put their money on Canada's army whooping the Marines' ass? Okay, like, really? There's a little part of me that in this particular moment, I mean, in most moments, I value human life, never want to see violence, but in this particular moment, I'd kind of like to see you try. Like, that could be interesting. It would be entertaining. Not worth the loss of human life, so, yeah, I tend to think that you're yapping at me like my little dog. But, to be fair, she didn't imply that it would be a violent takeover. She's encouraging those states to vote to join Canada. Okay, so I don't want to leave any false impressions, but sweetheart, no American ever, even the woke nut jobs in the states you were talking about, has ever voluntarily become Canadian unless there was a draft on, which there's not. Like, even the people in California, Oregon, and Washington are not going to give up their rights in America to go live under Bill C-63, where if their neighbor says they're concerned that you might say a mean thing, they can be under house arrest for the next year with weekly body fluid samples taken non-voluntarily from them. Yeah, make that offer to them, sweetheart. You go ahead. I'm gonna sit back with bated breath and see how many of them vote to take you up on it. Is she drunk again? I'm serious. Like, is she drunk again? Because the only other clip I've ever seen of this woman was when she was plastered and giving a public speech where she went off into a rant about how much she loved the Welcome Back Kotter theme song, which it's, I guess, kind of sweet to know that there's still people alive who were around when Welcome Back Kotter was on the air. But, her staff were rolling their eyes and tugging and yanking, trying to get her off stage unsuccessfully, because she just continued to go on. She spelled out Kotter, and it was interesting and humiliating. Did she fall off the wagon again? I'm going to assume so, because this makes about as much sense as that did. But hey, if I'm wrong, if those states actually do want to leave the United States and become Canadian, 3 less Democratic states in their electoral votes in the elections, the Republicans will reign forever. So, as a moderate, that's actually not good because you need 2 powerful parties to balance each other out. But right now, I've seen the insanity that the far left is capable of, and the fact that the moderate Democrats lack the balls to stand up to their own fringe groups. So, don't threaten me with a good time. Let's see what happens. Bye. However, that goodbye is conditional, because I'm going to have to go with Matt Walsh on this one. I mean, far be it for me to, plunge into the world of Walsh. But he suggested that the people can go, and we're going to keep the land and recolonize it. And, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Most of it wouldn't be on fire right now if there were some sane people who voted for what works instead of what sounds good. Just saying. But to finish up with Canada, Canadians seem like a truly nice people and a lovely people, friendly people. I generally like them. But what is up with your politicians? I mean, we have some losers here in the United States, too. I mean, I've gone after Jasmine Crockett and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and AOC. I've gone after Biden. I've gone after Kamala. I've gone after some people on the right, too. Devoted whole episodes to going after Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. But, you guys take it to a whole new level. And I don't understand why. I mean, you run your country how you want to run your country. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, as an outsider watching, it is a little confusing. What are you voting for that you get Trudeau and Elizabeth May? I mean, blink twice if your politicians are holding the people hostage. Because, we can send the Marines to help you. I mean, not to annex you, because then we'd have to let you vote. And we need less crazy votes down here, not more. We don't need people who are going to vote in Trudeau down here. You're nice people. I like you. I'm serious. But we are not giving you the vote. So no one wants to annex you. But you're a nice people and you don't deserve to live like this. So if you need help, if you're like being held prisoner by your own government, send up a flare. Let us know. You just seem like really good people to be subjected to this. So I don't know what else to say. Actually, I do have one more comment to make. Because, admittedly, I do not follow Canadian politics closely. I know about Bill C-16 and the one that they're trying to pass, which is very Orwellian, C-63. I know about what's happened to your economy. I know that Trudeau is out of his mind and spends more time partying at a Taylor Swift concert, passing out friendship bracelets to 13-year-old girls, acting like a weird woke pedo than a politician. But I don't pretend that I follow your politics extremely closely. So people have been talking about, according to your polls, who is going to be the next prime minister. And it is apparently pretty obvious that it's going to be the leader of the Conservative Party. But I didn't know who this guy was. So there were a lot of people saying, he's great, he's wonderful, this will be a good direction for Canada, and all the polls up there show this is who the people want, so you should get what you want. But I didn't know who it was. And then somebody the other day played a clip of him, and I was like, it's the apple eater dude! I love that dude! I saw that clip like a year ago, where he is just stoically munching on his apple as the woke little dork, tries to question him with like beads of sweat. And he's just munching away on his apple, asking perfectly rational questions back at him, totally unperturbed. And I was just like, I like this dude. So good choice. In fact, let's play that clip because I love that clip. Let's play the clip. I mean, admittedly, this clip of Pierre Poilievre is much better with the visuals, but I want to play the clip, so let's play the clip.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological thing.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways,
I don't really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure.
Munching on his apple.
But
like who?
I don't know who, but
well, you're the one who asked the question. You must know somebody.
I love that guy. I don't think his heart rate has ever gotten over 40 in his entire life. I have one request to make of Canada. If you do this, I will start paying more attention to Canadian politics. See to it that there is a continual supply of fruit at Parliament. Because if you elect this guy in, everything he says should be done while eating fruit. That's all I'm saying. Just let him munch away up there. Just totally unconcerned. It's fun. Oh, shoot, I forgot. There was one more clip before we leave the subject of Canada. So we'll just do it now. Let's just do it now. Elizabeth May was not the only Canadian politician pretending as though Canada was going to steal part of the United States or encouraging states to vote to leave the Union, which is actually an incitement to war, because the last time states tried to leave the Union, this little event called the Civil War happened. So this guy at least, was promoting Canada buying states from us. This is Doug Ford of Ontario. So why don't we listen to his offer.
You know something? To the president, I'll make him a counteroffer. How about if we buy Alaska? And we'll throw in Minnesota and Minneapolis at the same time. So, it's not realistic. I know he likes making these comments and he likes joking around. I take that seriously. He may be joking, but under my watch, that will never, ever happen.
Like I said, most adorable country ever. But I think we should consider this one. Now, you can't have Alaska. Alaska's off the table. Because Alaska's kind of awesome. And, if we get Greenland in the picture, then we've got kind of this western, state way up there, and we've got this eastern state way up there. We've kind of got you boxed in. So, you can't have Alaska. But you're interested in buying Minnesota, you say? Well, as the state that brought us the BLM riots, I think we should consider it. Now, the interesting thing is he seems to think that there is a state called Minneapolis, and he's willing to buy that too. And if Canada is offering to buy a non-existent state, I think we should sell it to him. I mean, at some point or another, you have to be responsible for your own stupidity. I mean, you can't just dangle an opportunity like that in front of us and expect us to walk away. If you want to buy the non-existent state of Minneapolis, I think we should pay down our national debt and accept. And plus, if he does buy Minnesota, that would solve the flag problem, because then we'd have a star already on the flag for Greenland. This works out really well, so I think we should think about it. Like I said before, be open to possibilities. It's a brave new world. But you have to keep Tim Walz. Otherwise, no deal. It's a package deal, baby. Tim Walz comes with Minnesota. All right, that brings us to our main story, which is, of course, the fires in California. The mayor of LA was gone to Ghana, and I have to admit, when I heard this, because apparently she has an unnatural obsession with Africa, considering that she has been elected to govern Americans. But her trips over there reminded me of that scene from The Aviator, where Howard Hughes is kind of lashing back at the politician who's flying all over the world for free on Pan Am, and the politician tries to claim that he was doing that in his official capacity, working on trade agreements as the senator from Maine with Peru. And Howard Hughes points out, what, do they buy a lot of lobsters over there in Peru? What trade agreements are you working on? I mean, my question is kind of that for this mayor of LA. Why are you not in LA doing your job? Why are you in Ghana? Does Ghana buy a lot of avocados? Are they big citrus consumers? I mean, what in your job as mayor of a city involves foreign affairs? I mean, you could obviously, a president is going to be involved in foreign affairs, and you could even argue that certain governors or senators would have occasional interactions with certain states and countries around the world, but like a mayor of a city, shouldn't you be at home doing the job you're paid to do? The job you've been doing sucks. I'm just going to say it. You cut the LA Fire Department by $17.5 million, and that was only because you failed to get the cut that you wanted, which was $23 million. You also cut the number of firefighters based on firing all of the firefighters who wouldn't get the COVID shot. Now, I don't want to wade into COVID waters because, frankly, I'm tired of all the COVID stuff. But when the vaccine came out, and it was like, okay, you need to get the vaccine to stop the spread, that was being said in conjunction with the claim that if you got the vaccine, it was impossible for you to get COVID. We now know that that is not true. There are many people who have been vaccinated multiple times who get COVID regularly. So that was not true, but at the time, we thought that was true. We were told that was true. So if there are firefighters who took the vaccine and cannot, therefore, get COVID, why do you care if someone else doesn't get the vaccine? Because even if they get COVID, they can't give it to you, which is the point. So why are you trying to control what they do with their body? I mean, I thought my body, my choice was kind of a mantra of the left. And if you say, well, it's because it could spread it, and we need to get the pandemic under control. Okay, that didn't make sense at the time either, because once again, the claim was made repeatedly that we now know to not be true, that if you have the vaccine, not only can you not get COVID, but you can't spread COVID to others. That's not true. We now know that. You can still transmit COVID to others, even if you've been vaccinated. But at the time, let's assume you believed that to be true. But once again, the only people you could spread it to would be the people who had chosen not to be vaccinated. So how is that any skin off your nose for you as a vaccinated person? I don't understand the need to control. And the idea that you fired a large amount of your firefighters over this, leaving your fire department seriously understaffed. Hindsight being 2020, although it didn't exactly take hindsight to see this one coming, that was a bad move. Gavin Newsom, who is governor of California, and he's basically our version of Trudeau. I mean, he's the good-looking guy with way too much hair gel that has only ever done bad things. He turned San Francisco into a zombie wasteland and was promoted for his trouble to governor. And now he's turned California into a zombie wasteland. And everybody with the means to leave California has left, taking their businesses with them. So the poor people who can't afford the housing there are the only ones left, and they're being taxed into oblivion. All for no fire department and no police and a huge homeless problem. California now has half of the entire country's homeless population living there. Its streets are covered in human feces. And I will have you remember that this guy, who has done nothing but ruin the lives of the people who trusted him, is like the Democrats' leading candidate for their next presidential run, so that he can bring this joy nationwide. Not going to happen. Since the room. Okay. But anyway, he has refused to do the necessary forest care in California. He's refused to clean up all of the dead material in the forests, the leaves on the ground, the dead trees, that sort of stuff, so that there's not just kindling lying around waiting for a stray spark. He's refused to do that. It has something to do with environmentalism, but I've never followed what is the link between let's not cut down the living trees and let's not bury the ones that are dead. Like, I mean, when something's dead, you're supposed to get rid of it. Okay, you're not supposed to be like the state that is the weird Norman Bates taxidermy guy where you've just got dead things lying around. All right, when it's dead, it's okay to get rid of it. In fact, if you don't, there's going to be more death because that brings disease. So clean up your frickin' forests, get rid of the dead shit so that you don't continue killing the living shit. Is this really this complicated? And stop draining your water into the ocean to save a fish that you're failing to save anyway. Like, I'm sorry, but do you realize how many creatures wind up dying in these forest fires? To save a fish that's going extinct anyway, you are letting a bunch of living creatures burn to death. Save your freaking water so that you have water to put out fires when this happens. This is not rocket science. I mean, this LA fire chief openly prioritized, after firing a good chunk of the firefighters, after making horrible cuts, millions of dollars worth of cuts in funding to the rest of them, she has been very open about the fact that her priority is to diversify the department instead of focusing on being sure that the department can actually do its job of fighting fires. I can't imagine why things are so bad that people are willing to leave what is literally paradise on earth because your politicians keep turning it into hell on earth. And I don't understand why Californians enjoy running into this wall like a bad Three Stooges episode until they're just covered in their own blood, rather than say, you know what, stuff that sounds nice, that's nice. That's nice. And, in places that we have the luxury of doing that, we're all for that because we're liberal. Great. But we also need systems that actually work with people in charge that aren't this. I'm just saying. We are so going to be forced to recolonize California and repopulate it with enough sane people to balance out the crazy ones so that it doesn't just go off the edge of the world and continue being a drain on the rest of us as we continue to have to bail them out from their stupid decisions with the money out of our pocketbooks that we actually need over here. If you want the luxury of your pretty beliefs, fine, but then you're going to have to deal with the consequences all by yourself, like big boys and girls. And I know that sounds cold, but seriously, you can't have it both ways. Either develop enough common sense to make life livable, or deal with the consequences of not doing that. That's how it works in the adult world. And climate change is not a get-out-of-jail-free card, okay? There are some fires in the world that probably are caused by climate change. I don't know enough about the science to say one way or the other. I've heard some compelling arguments both ways, but I'm totally willing to admit that probably some of them are caused by climate change. But the ones that happen in the winter are not, okay? Because if winter is so hot that it's responsible for climate change causing fires, then California would be an inferno the other 9 months of the year because it's much warmer there during those times. And this happened after some record amounts of rainfall, so it's not even that the climate just left everything extremely dry. It's not any drier than normal. It's true. California is subject to Santa Anas. I've been out there during Santa Anas. Hot wind blows in from the desert, makes it unseasonably warm. Those winds are very strong, and so if there is a spark, those winds with the dry air and a lot of force behind them are going to blow those fires crazy. That's true, but that's always been the case. Santa Anas have been around forever. That's not climate change, that's just wind. So you do not get to remove the responsibility from left-wing politicians by just going, it's all climate change, it's all climate change. No, it's you. It's you. And the bad decisions you've made. You don't get to blame climate change for you doing a shitty job. That's not how this works. Biden had some comments to make about this, and what can I say? We have to give them credit. They were at least in English. But pointing out that it's all okay because Hunter didn't lose his home, well, that makes me feel better. The drug addict gets off again. Okay. And He also announced that he has his first great-grandchild. The bigger person in me says, congratulations. The rest of me says, yes, it's all about you, old man. You are the center of our universe, and that's what we care about right now, is your personal little world. You are the sun around which we all orbit. Copernicus called, you're not the center of the universe. Deal with it. No wonder you've been officially ranked as the worst president since Nixon. You've actually beat out Jimmy Carter. Congrats. Jimmy Carter didn't live long enough to know he was off the hook, but, officially rated as the worst president since Nixon, which is kind of unfair to Nixon, because, don't get me wrong, I'm not a Nixon fan. He did a lot of bad things. He doesn't deserve to be remembered as a good president, but he did a few good things. A few. They don't outweigh the bad he did, but he did a few good things. Name me one good thing that Biden has done, or Carter for that matter. I would love to hear it. And you can't use Habitat for Humanity because Carter didn't do that as president. He did that afterwards in his private life. So I want to know, as president, what did either one of those men do that's good? So, that's kind of unfair to Nixon. It's just the inaccuracy is something I feel obligated to point out. But you know what? I'll take it. Because it's generally more accurate than not. But, presidents like Biden are the reasons that 25 of the states have legislators that are Republican now. Not counting Nebraska, where the Republicans have a supermajority. Only 15 out of 50 states have a Democrat majority, and 10 are split. So, in this election, Republicans flipped many states and split others that were Democrat strongholds and were not even supposed to be on the table. You can come up with all the excuses you want, but that says something about you. It says something about you. And the fires that we're seeing in Democrat strongholds, like LA, the crime problems in Oregon, the drug problems, the homeless problems in California, all this sort of stuff in the few remaining Democrat states. They're the result of electing politicians whose priorities are completely upside down and who do absolutely 0% of the governance part of just frickin' build the reservoir to hold water for California that you've been talking about building for 40 years. So that the fire hydrants actually have some freaking water in them, which right now they don't. Simple stuff like that. Don't cut funding to the basics in life, like fire departments. Don't decriminalize a bunch of stuff to where now you've got a haven for criminals who are going around based on all the videos where it looks like they are intentionally being arsonists and setting more fires. This is a result of your pretty ideas, so take responsibility. MSNBC, eyes ever on the ball, isn't worried about the fire or the failures of California's politicians, but they are deeply, deeply concerned with the tone Trump used while making valid criticisms. That is just an uncalled for tone. You are not allowed to do this. No. When we screw up and leave our own citizens homeless on the street, you are supposed to kiss it and make it better. How dare you? Give me a break. The pearl clutching, seriously. Ay. And you can continue to scream, it's all climate change's fault. No one is listening to you people anymore. Okay, this one is not climate change's fault. You want to talk about climate change? We can talk about climate change. You want to talk about how big of a problem it is, what it is responsible for, what we need to be doing about it. I'm there for it. Let's do it. But you don't get to just use it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. This is not Monopoly, and you do not get a get-out-of-jail-free card, extra spin, roll again. Come on, you're not 4. Stop acting like you are. It's so ridiculous. I do have to play one clip for you before we wrap things up. One of the victims of this fire apparently approached Gavin Newsom as he was walking around on the streets, wanting to talk to him about the problem she's facing, losing her home. So many homes have been just completely burnt to the ground. Only the chimneys are left standing. It looks like a war zone there. And she went to her governor, who was elected by her and is supposed to be helping her, and he lied to her face, saying that he couldn't talk to her right now because he was on the phone with Biden. And when she asked him, well, can you please put it on speaker because I'd like to hear what my president has to say about this, then he admitted, well, I'm not on the phone with Biden right now. Whoa, it's quite a clip. So we are so going to play this clip.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's get it. Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now.
Whoa. Brutal. Desperate woman who's just watched her child's school burn to the ground. Her life is literally going up in flames. Going to the politician who's in charge and asking to talk to him about what he's going to do. And he says, I am literally talking to the president right now. He looks her straight in the face and lies to her. And when she says, can I hear, because I don't believe you, proves that she was right not to believe him, because he's like, well, I'm not talking to him right now. Because I can't get a signal. So you're not talking to the president right now, so talk to me right now. Wow. Brutal. Okay, we're going to wrap up this story on the fire with a clip that is going viral right now. And it's a perfect example of what exactly is wrong with the people in charge in these places. This is the fire chief I was telling you about. Now, this is not a clip that someone else filmed of her, and it's been taken out of context and all this. No, this is a promo that she shot and approved of. It's what she wanted people to know about her as a severely overweight, black, lesbian firefighter who was put in charge of the fire department based on the qualifications of being a plus-size, black, lesbian. So she checked 3 diversity boxes, which is pretty good. It's not as good as if she was trans, but it's pretty good. And this is what she wanted people to know about how she saw things as she took over the fire department. So I'm just going to play it for you, in case you haven't already seen it, which you probably have, because this has been lighting up the freaking internet.
The reality is, you're not one of the boys. You never will be one of the boys. But you can be a good firefighter. people see you and they're like, wow, look at you. You know, they're so excited. Here's a female black officer. Because there's not a lot of us. You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. You can't be it if you can't see it. And so that's why it's important for young girls to see women riding around on fire trucks. Plus, it's fun. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Whoa.
I was the first African-American female promoted to the rank of battalion chief. With each promotion, more eyes come on you, more scrutiny. They want to know, does she know what she's doing? Does she keep her crew safe?
Okay, first of all, she claims that when you're in the middle of an emergency, whether that's a medical emergency or a fire emergency, the thing that is important to you is that the person who responds to that emergency looks like you. Spoken like a privileged little brat who has never had an actual problem or emergency in their life. All right, I've never been in a fire, so I'm not going to... I can assume what I would want in that situation is the biggest, burliest firefighter coming through my door looking like Hugh Jackman to carry me out. Okay, that is what I want. Yes, I'll just say it. Okay, that is what I want. I want a big guy who is capable of dragging me out of that fire so that I do not burn to death. Burning to death is not a way I want to go. But, you know, I've never actually been in a fire, so maybe she's right. Maybe in a fire, what I would actually want is someone who looks like me, who is a disabled white woman. They won't be able to save me, but hey, I'll see something that kind of resembles a reflection before I die. But I have been through a lot of medical emergencies, so that I can speak about authoritatively. And never once has anyone who has responded to one of my medical emergencies looked like me. Never once. And it didn't even occur to me to prioritize that in the list of things I wanted. Because when you're in an emergency, what you actually want is help. What you want is someone who is capable of helping you, who knows how to help you and can do it. Thus beginneth and endeth your priorities when you are in an actual emergency. And I can say that from experience. And I'm sorry, but only someone who has lived a very sheltered, pampered, privileged life would be stupid enough to think that when you are in a life-threatening emergency, the thing that you want most is for the person who comes to help you to resemble yourself. That will not even enter your mind, and you would know that if you had actually been through a difficult emergency. When my mom was having a seizure, and I was panicking, having never seen someone have a seizure up until that moment, except on TV. And it's very different in real life. It is much scarier than you would think in real life. I thought she was dying in front of my eyes and I could do nothing about it. It never occurred to me to hope that the person who showed up to help looked like me or looked like her. No, what I wanted was someone who could save her. Someone who could help her so she did not die. That is what I want. That was all I wanted. Thus beginneth and endeth my wants in that moment. Help her. Save her. That's what I want. That is what anyone in an emergency wants. But she goes so far as to say, if you actually want that, you're the one with your priorities mixed up. She says that if you're trapped in a fire and you're a dude, and therefore you're too big for an obese woman to carry out, well, that's your problem. You deserve to burn to death because you shouldn't be there in the first place. So everyone whose home catches fire while they're sleeping deserves to die because that's not really her job. Her job is to ride around on fire trucks so that little girls can see themselves in that job and feel good about themselves. That's what the fire department is for, not to save people from burning buildings. Okay. I've known a man my whole life, Mr. Holman. Wonderful man. Big man. Not overweight, big as in tall. He's about 6'4", weighs about 200 pounds, incredibly strong, big man. I mean, as a child, he used to give you hugs that made you feel like he was about to crush you. He had an accident when he retired in his 60s. He fell out of a deer stand, and he spent the rest of his life as a paraplegic. So if his house catches fire, and he can't get out because he's in a wheelchair, that's his fault. He shouldn't expect the firefighters, which his tax dollars pay for, to be able to get him out of his burning home, because the important thing that he should be prioritizing is that they look like him and that they feel good about themselves for having the job they want and can't do. And as he burns to death, he can take comfort in the knowledge that he was politically correct because he deserves to burn to death, because it's his fault for being in a fire in the first place. Did she really just say that? Okay, I don't care what protected class you're a part of. You're an awful frickin' human being. Like a really, truly awful human being. And you need help. Like you need intensive therapy. That is sociopath levels of evil in you, sweetheart. And you can belong to the LGBTQ. All groups of people have some evil people in them. And so you apparently are one of the evil people in the LGBTQ. That is not to demonize everyone who's in the LGBTQ, but all groups have good people and bad people that are part of them. It's not like any one group has like magic fairy dust that they sprinkle over their population, and not one of them is an awful person. And you are an awful person. I know I said that was the last clip, but I had forgotten about one that I do want to play, because lest anyone think that, yes, most of us would want people in these positions to be the best possible at doing their job. That's what we want. We want them to be good at their job, in this case, fighting fires. And we're not willing to sacrifice that to make the numbers on some ideologue's ledger come out right, who has nothing better to worry about in their privileged little lives. But you might have the question, maybe they've been doing both. Maybe they've been letting in some people who can't do the job, like the fire chief. But, surely they've still been hiring people who can do the job at the same time. And so shouldn't it come out pretty okay? That's where you're wrong. This is a clip of Adam Carolla back in 2017, talking about how he applied to be a firefighter in LA and was rejected because he was a white man and they had too many of those. They needed more women. They needed more people of color. And so better that the fire department just be understaffed, as it is right now during this crisis, than for the ledger to be unbalanced. Here is what he had to say. This is him testifying in front of Congress.
I want to talk about my white privilege so badly. I graduated North Hollywood High with a 1.7 GPA. I could not find a job. I walked to a fire station in North Hollywood. I was 19. I was living in the garage of my family home. My mom was on welfare and food stamps. And I said, can I get a job as a fireman? And they said, no, because you're not black, Hispanic, or a woman. We'll see in about 7 years. And I went to a construction site and dug ditches and picked up garbage for the next 7 years. I got a letter in the mail sent to my father's house saying, your time has come to do the written exam for the LA Fire Department. I took it, and I was standing in line, and I had a young woman of color standing behind me in line, and I said, just out of curiosity, when did you sign up to become a fireman? Because I did it, or a person, 7 years ago, and she said, Wednesday. That is an example of my white privilege.
And priorities like that are an example of why we are seeing the things we're seeing right now. Natural disasters happen. Wildfires get started. Hurricanes hit. Nature is not always pretty. But when those things happen, if the people in charge have been totally negligent in their duties and have made a series of awful decisions, then that natural disaster that you couldn't control turns into complete carnage. And that's what we're seeing right now. And the people who were responsible for making those poor decisions need to be held responsible for them. That's what being a leader is. You have to be responsible for the quality of your leadership, and should. All right. I've said all I've got to say on that. I think I've made my point. But let's just end this on a good note. So let's have one little piece of good news here. The good news is that a federal court struck down Biden's changes to Title IX. Title IX was created to protect women, to create women's spaces, to create women's sports, in which only biological women were supposed to be able to access these places and play in these sports so that they had a fair playing field. And Biden tried to completely change Title IX. The changes he wanted to make to it would basically make it completely irrelevant. It would eviscerate its purposes, because it said that biological men who identify as women should have access to women's bathrooms, locker rooms, dormitories, these spaces where women are. They should be able to play in the sports where they have multiple, unmitigatable advantages over the women, and basically the women are just supposed to accept that they no longer get a chance to compete fairly. He tried to run that through, and 26 states who opposed these changes sued and brought it before a federal court. And the federal court just ruled that these changes to Title IX will not be allowed in any state, regardless of whether they were one of the 26 states who opposed it or not. And that is a step in the right direction. If you are a trans person and you identify a certain way, you can do that. That is your life. That is your decision. I'm not here to tell you how to lead your life. But sports are a physical category. They are broken down into categories based on physical attributes. And you can identify however you want, but you have to play in your appropriate category. If you are a heavyweight boxer, you cannot identify as a lightweight and compete in the lightweights. You can be a heavyweight boxer who identifies as a lightweight and still boxes in the heavyweight category. I don't care how you identify. Do what you need to do. But you have to play in your category. And if you have an XY chromosome, you have to play with the other XYs. That's the way this works. You can do so while identifying as a female, dressing how you want, changing your name to what you want, but you have to play fair. Because you're a grown-up, and other people matter too. And if you are wanting to go into women's spaces, like bathrooms, dormitories, locker rooms, those spaces were created for women in order to protect them from sexual assault. And I am sorry, but I am not for putting more women at risk of sexual assault. And no, I'm not going to engage in the dumb argument that the only way to keep biological men out of women's spaces is to check everyone's genitalia, because that's stupid. We've been keeping biological men out of women's spaces for decades, all magically without checking anyone's genitalia, because in most cases we have eyes that inform us that, yeah, the 6'4", 250-pound dude with a beard in a dress is probably not a biological woman. Now, in some cases, you aren't sure, in which case, if they go in and don't cause trouble, they're probably not going to be caught. If they care about others as much as they care about themselves, then they will understand that everyone's feelings and rights have to be taken into account here, and understand that the whole reason that women's bathrooms were created was because women were being raped in the workforce in co-ed bathrooms. That's why women started going to the bathrooms in groups, was to protect against that, but that was not sufficient. And so we decided, we just need women's bathrooms so that there aren't men in there who can take advantage of a woman being all alone in a separated space and do something to her. That has to take priority over some of this other stuff. I'm not saying that trans people should be discriminated against or bullied, but nor can their preferences always be the ones that are accommodated at everyone else's expense. That's not democracy. Democracy is the people vote and the majority wins. That's how it works. That's not always fair for people on the edges, and we should care about them, but caring about them does not mean that they always get their own way on absolutely everything. So this is the right decision. It is what is best for the majority of the people, and I applaud it. It is a step in the right direction. So thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and follow, because that's what makes these podcasts end up being successful. And I hope you come back next week. Until then, have a good week, my friends.